Hi and welcome to Priori Digital Studio tutorial. In this video, I will show you how to set up and use your Airbnb planner spreadsheet in the most efficient way. In this video, I am using Go Sheets, but the Excel version is exactly the same. First thing, we protect most of the cells where there are formulas to make sure that you don't erase any important formulas that could impact the spreadsheet. So if you see this message, it means you're not supposed to touch it. But don't worry, I'll show you step by step how to prepare your spreadsheet. In this situation, simply click on the X and you will be fine. Moreover, we established a color code to show you which cells can be edited and which one cannot. So basically, you only can edit the cells that have a white background. Another small warning, please don't move a cell from one place to another. If you do move a cell, it could generate an issue by messing up the automation of the spreadsheet. The best way to avoid these errors is to copy and paste your data. So now let's have a look at the Setup tab. The Setup tab is where you'll enter all the essential information needed for the spreadsheet. At the top, you'll find 6 buttons that lets you quickly jump between sections, or you can simply scroll down. So the step 1 is the currency setup. Simply enter your currency symbol and the spreadsheet will automatically adapt to global currencies. Step 2, the cell stack setup. In this product, you could define up to 2 different cell stacks. For example, if you are located in a country with 2 different cell stacks like Canada, or a country with a federal and a state tax rate, for example, you simply have to type in the tax amount. So in our case, 5% and 10%. Also, if you want to change the name cell stacks 1 and cell stacks 2 to something else like federal tax and state tax, for example, then you can simply type it in. We did not protect these 2 cells to allow you to change the name if needed. The third step is the payment method. Define the payment methods tenants can use. So for example, either cash, bank transfers, credit card, and so on. If you accept multiple methods, simply list them all here. If you only have one method, simply write one. Then the fourth step is the property types. List the types of properties you manage, example, a cabin, apartments, houses, and so on. This will allow you to track statistics later on. If you only manage one type of property, you can simply enter just one. Then the fifth step is the property details. Enter the name of each property or use the address if you don't have a specific name. Select the property type using the drop-down menu. Enter the address of the property. Then you can add up to 10 units for each property. If you have more than 10 units in one building, for example, then you could simply use 2 rows for the same building. So it could be like building number 1 and then the 10 units, and then same name, building number 2, 10 units. If instead of renting like multiple units properties, you simply rent a cottage that has like 1 unit basically, you still have to write it there. So it could be like cottage and then unit 1, for example. Or it could also be simply the civic number of this specific cottage. Then the last step is the income and expense categories. List all the income and expense categories you need. You have up to 50 for each. You can always add more later if needed. And if you don't see the row 25 to 50, simply click on the plus button to expand it. So as you can see, you have this pop-up message. That's basically the only time where you can click on OK. If you want to remove these extra lines or rows, you can simply click again on the minus sign and then on OK. So you can list all the income categories or expense categories that you want to track in this specific section. On an important note, this little plus button is used everywhere in the spreadsheet to give you more flexibility to either expand and have more rows or shrink the number of rows. So now let's take a look at the Income tab. The Income tab serves as a transaction tracker and is one of the key components of this spreadsheet alongside the Expense tab that we will show in a few minutes. This tab is designed to be very intuitive. So the first thing that you'll want to do is use the drop-down menu to select your property. The type is totally automated. Then select the unit and enter the tenant name manually. Choose the income category and enter the check-in and check-out date of the tenant. The number of nights is automated. Then enter a payment dates as well as the net amount and the platform fees. The two sales tax columns are automated based on the Setup tab. But if you need to modify them for whatever reason, it is possible. You can simply write over the number written there. The total amount paid is totally automated. Once the payments is totally received, simply tick the checkbox. And finally, you only have to select the payment method from the drop-down menu. We also provided space for notes if needed. And one last feature is that if the reservation is canceled, you have the option to tick the checkbox on the left-hand side of the table, and the transaction will be struck through in red. But since a canceled reservation could generate fees for the tenant, the amount will still be considered in the bookkeeping section. Lastly, be very careful with this tab since this tab is not protected to allow you to apply filters if needed. So I'll give you a little example on how to use the filters. So let's say that you want to filter by property type. You can simply clear everything and then click on apartment, and you will only see the income from apartment types. Then you could use a second filter if you want to filter by property. Same thing, simply clear it all, select the property, and then you will only see the data for Downtown Heights and the apartment. If you want to remove the filters to see all your data, you simply click on the filter again, click on select all, and then on OK. Don't forget the second filter, do the same thing. As you can see, all the data are there again. So this tab is really important because it populates basically all the other tabs of the spreadsheet. So be very careful when you enter your information. And then lastly, in Google Sheet, very specifically, there's a small feature where you can double click on a date and a small calendar will appear. So you don't need to type in the date, simply use the small calendar if you want to. However, unfortunately in Excel, this feature does not exist. So if you decide to use the Excel version of our spreadsheet, you will have to type in manually the dates. So now let's take a look at the Expense tab. The Expense tab works similarly to the Income tab, so make sure to enter your information in the correct section. So here's how to log an expense. First, enter the date of the expense, then select the property for which the expense was made. The type is totally automated. If you have a multi-residential building and the expense applies to the entire building, check the design checkbox. Otherwise, leave it unchecked and select the specific unit from the drop-down menu. This step is crucial for accurate bookkeeping. So I will give you a little example. Let's say that you have a problem with your roof and you need to do some reparation. The roof is basically needed for the whole building, right? So in this case, this specific expense is for the whole building. We would then check the checkbox. But for example, if you have one specific unit within this multi-residential building that has a sink leaking and you need to do some reparation in this specific unit, then you would not have to check the box because this problem only touches one unit within your building and not the whole building. Then after this step, you can choose the expense category from the drop-down menu. Categories were defined in the Setup tabs. So if you need more categories, you can always go back to the Setup tab to add more. Then enter the net amount. The sales tax are totally automated based on the percentage in the Setup tab, but you could change them if needed. The total amount is automated, and then optionally, you can add notes or description for better tracking. Same thing for this tab, be very careful. This tab is not protected to allow you to apply filters if needed. So now let's have a look at the Mileage tab. The Mileage tab helps you track your travel expenses accurately. So the first step is to set up the mileage rates. At the top of the page, you'll find a green setup table where you can choose your preferred units, so either kilometers or miles. So you simply use the drop-down menu to select the one that you want. Then you can add up to 5 different mileage rates. So for example, if your bookkeeping starts in 2024 and the mileage rate was 0.655 per mile, simply enter the rate. Then enter the start date and the end date. If the rate changes in 2025, you can add a new rate for that year without affecting the previous records. So we also added two types of warnings to help you set up everything accordingly. So the first one is the inverted starts and end dates. So if the end date is before the start date, a warning message will appear and the affected dates will be highlighted in yellow. Then we also added in overlapping date ranges. So if two date ranges overlap, a warning message will pop up and the affected dates will be marked in red. If you see these warnings, you'll need to correct the dates to ensure accurate bookkeeping. So once your mileage rate is set up, you can simply click on the little minus sign to hide this information, since you basically only need to log in once a year. So the second step is to log your mileage. Once the setup is complete, you can start tracking your mileage in the pink table. So first enter the date of the trip, then enter the distance traveled either in kilometers or miles. The amount will auto-calculated based on the mileage rate and the date. Then select the property the transactions is associated with, and optionally add a description or a note for reference. So now let's take a look at the calendar tab. The calendar tab is really user-friendly and displays all your reservations for a specific unit during 1 month. So to set up the calendar, you simply have to type in the year, select the month, and select the start date of the week between Monday and Sunday. Once this is done, you only need to select a property and a unit, and the calendar will auto-populate with the occupied periods in green, the check-in and check-out periods in yellow, and the available days in white. If you have a double booking, the spreadsheet will display a warning in red. This tab is very useful to know when you have reservations in your properties. On the left-hand side, you also have a chart and data. The chart is for the whole period of time and not specific for one unit. But the data below, like the occupancy rate, the number of nights booked, and the number of check-in and check-out, are based on the selected unit. So as you can see here in this specific example, we have a check-in for Jonathan, and then it seems like we have a double booking since we have everything in red here. And then we have the checkout of Cora. So if you have a calendar like this, you definitely need to go back and look at your bookings to make sure that you don't have a problem with these two tenants. Let's take another example with another unit that everything is going well. So let's click on 103. As you can see here, we have the check-in for Kennedy. This person seems to stay in our unit for a few days, and then we'll check out on the 10th. We don't have any double booking, and it seems like we still have a free space or free nights if we needed at the end of the month for another tenant. So now let's take a look at the booking overview tab. This tab is really similar to the calendar tab, but in this tab, there's a global view of all your properties and not only one. The principle is the same. You only need to type in the year and select the month that you want to visualize. All your units are on the left-hand side of the page and the days of the month at the top. The cells in the calendar will auto-populate with the occupied periods in green, the check-in and check-out periods in yellow, and the available days in white. If you have a double booking, the spreadsheet will display a warning in red. At the top of the page, you have 4 important data: the total amount received during the month, the number of booked nights, and the number of check-in and check-out. So let's have a look at the property dashboard. The property dashboard provides a clear overview of your income, expenses, profit, and overall bookkeeping data for each property. So almost everything in this tab is automated, requiring minimal manual input. The only data you need to enter is the start date and the end date. Define the period you want to analyze. So for example, it could be a full year, a single month, or even a custom range. So you also have some key financial metrics. At the top of the page, you'll find 4 essential financial indicators. So the total income, the total expense, profit or loss, and profit margin. Then we also added a lot of visual graphs and table to help you understand your breakdown. So right below the 4 indicators, you have a graph breakdown that displays income, expenses, and profit for each properties. So right below, you have a detailed table with property-specific data, which include income, expenses, profit, and profit margin for each property in your portfolio. Properties are sorted from the most profitable to the least one. Then on the left-hand side, you also have a few pie charts. On the far left, we provide a visual summary of your financial distribution. So you have an income breakdown as well as an expense breakdown and your overall profit margin. If you scroll down, you'll find a summary of your top performing properties highlighted. So we have the top property by income, the top property by profit, and the property with the highest expenses. So as we can see, this dashboard offers a comprehensive snapshot of your rental portfolio, helping you track financial health and optimize your management. So now let's have a look at the unit dashboard. The unit dashboard functions similarly to the property dashboard, but it focuses on tracking the financial performance of each individual unit rather than the entire building. Everything in this tab is automated, so the only thing that you need to do is to enter the start date and the end date for the period that you want to analyze. So instead of viewing the overall performance of one building, this dashboard provides a breakdown for each unit. So at the top of the page, you'll find 4 key financial metrics: the total income, total expense, profit or loss, and profit margin. Below that, the dashboard presents a detailed breakdown of each unit's income and expenses, along with the payment overview that displays the amount due, collected, outstanding balance, and the payment statuses. So below that, the dashboard presents a detailed breakdown of each unit's income and expense. So scrolling further, you'll find a summary of your top performing units. This section highlights which unit generated the highest income, have the highest profit, and incur the most expenses. So again, with this dashboard, you can easily assess the financial health of each unit, helping you make better management decisions. So now let's take a look at the unit statistics dashboard. This tab is potentially the most important one to track all the statistics of your properties individually. The setup is really similar to the other dashboard, so simply type in the start year, select the start month, select a property and a unit. It is really important to select a unit to view its statistics. At the top of the tab, you also have a few charts. The first one shows the income, expense, and profit for the selected unit month by month over the year. On the left, there's also an overview of the whole year with the net income and total expenses. Just below, you have a chart with an average daily rate for each month of the year. And on the left-hand side, your profit margin. If you scroll down, you will see a table with all the financial data of your unit, including the net income, the total expenses, average daily rate, profit or loss, as well as profit margin. If you keep scrolling down, you will see 4 charts. The first big one displays the number of booked nights and the number of canceled ones. On the left, you can see the occupancy rate and just below the cancellation rate. And the chart with 2 lines represents the break-even point. The pink line represents your expenses of the year. So if we are above this line, it means that you are profitable, and below this line, it means you are not. The blue line represents the average daily rate of your unit during the year. So in my example, we can see that we need to rent our units a little bit above 75 and around 100 nights. So we can see in the table below that it is 91 nights during the whole year to be break even. So this is of course just an example, but this information could really help you understand your business. And below these charts, you have a table with all the data like the number of booked nights, the occupancy rate, the total number of reservations, the number of canceled reservations, the cancellation rate, and also the break-even point in number of nights and percentage. So as you can see here, we give you all the data and matrix to understand your business and make adjustments if needed. And then finally, at the top of the page, you have a summary of your data with 6 boxes, including key information for your properties. The monthly dashboard tab provides a different perspective on your financial data by categorizing it by income and expense types rather than by unit or property. This allows you to analyze your financial performance over a broader scale. The first step in using this tab is typing in the year and selecting the month you want to review. You can then decide whether to view data for all your properties collectively or isolate a specific property or unit using the drop-down menu in the orange section. And the last point to set up in this tab is the view selection. You can decide to view your data by net amount, sales tax only, or the total amount in the yellow section. So once everything is set up, everything in this tab is automatically populated. At the top, you will see 3 financial metrics: total income, total expenses, and profit or loss. Below that, your income is displayed by category based on the classifications you defined in the Setup tab. Next to this, you'll find a similar breakdown for expenses. On the left-hand side, the dashboard presents your profit margin along with 2 pie charts that visually represent your income and expense distribution. So this tab gives you a comprehensive overview of your business financial performance for the selected month, helping you track trends and make informed decisions. So now let's take a look at the Annual Dashboard tab. The Annual Dashboard provides a year-long overview of your financial data, offering a more detailed perspective compared to the monthly dashboard. The only editable fields in this tab are the starting year, starting month, the property and the unit selection, as well as the view selection. So this one works exactly as the monthly tab. This tab displays your financial data over a 12-month period, giving you a clear picture of your income, expenses, and overall profitability throughout the year. At the top, you will find 3 key financial metrics: total income, total expenses, and profit. Clicking on these titles will take you to their corresponding sections within the tab. So in the first section, you will see your profit margin, a graph illustrating your monthly profit trends over 12 months, and a detailed graph combining income, expenses, and profit. Below that, a summary table presents a month-by-month breakdown of your income and expenses. The next section focuses on income, displaying a detailed table with all income categories and their corresponding amounts per month. Additionally, there's a pie chart showing the income distribution and another chart showing monthly income trends. If you scroll further down, you'll find the same layout but for the expenses, allowing you to analyze where your money is going throughout the year. As you can see, you also have some plus buttons, so if you need to see more rows, you can simply click on it and more will be revealed. Again, click on the minus sign if you want to hide them. One of the most valuable features of this tab is the cash flow summary at the bottom of the page. This section provides a complete financial overview by summarizing your income and all expenses, including mileage, to give you a clear picture of your net profit for the year. And the last section of this tab is the tax section, and it summarizes the total tax collected and the total tax paid. You have the option to visualize your data with a table or a chart. So now let's have a look at the 5-year dashboard tab. The 5-year dashboard tab is very similar to the annual dashboard with the same features and layout. The only editable fields are the starting year and month, the property and unit selection, as well as the view selection cell. This tab provides a comprehensive view of your data over a 5-year period, breaking down the information year by year. It offers a clear long-term perspective of your financial performance, allowing you to track trends and assess your property financial health over the years. So now let's take a look at the custom dashboard tab. This tab is very similar to the monthly dashboard in terms of features and layout. With a key difference, it allows you to customize the date range for viewing your property performance. So like the other tabs, the editable fields includes the start and end dates, as well as the property and unit selections, and also the view selection. To adjust the date range, simply double click on the date fields if you're using Google Sheets. If you're using Excel, you will have to type in these dates. Then select your desired start date and then choose the end date for the period you want to analyze. If the dates are entered in the wrong order, a warning will appear to alert you. This flexibility allows you to analyze performance over any time frame, whether it's just a few weeks or several months. So now let's take a look at the comparison dashboard tab. This tab is very similar to the monthly dashboard in terms of features and layout, with one key difference. It allows you to compare the performance of up to 3 properties. So, as in other tabs, the only editable fields are the starting dates, along with the view drop-down menu. The unique feature of this tab is that you can select up to 3 properties and units, which will allow you to compare their performance side by side. Simply use the drop-down menus to choose your first, second, and third property. This tab is very useful when you want to compare the performance of 2 or 3 properties. At the top, you will see a summary of each property's performance, including income, expenses, profit, as well as profit margin. Below that, you'll find a comparison of the profit margins for all selected properties, as well as a combined graph showing income, expenses, and profit for each properties. Further down, there's a breakdown of income by category and additional breakdown for expenses. Finally, the tab also includes a cash flow section to provide a comprehensive view of your financial situation. So now let's take a look at the maintenance tab. This tab is designed to help you track all maintenance and repair tasks for your property. It's highly flexible with minimal automation, giving you the freedom to track exactly what you need. Starting by using the drop-down menu to select the property, if the maintenance task applies to the entire building, for example, you need to redo the roof, you can check the checkbox. If you don't tick the box, use the drop-down menu to select the specific unit. Next, enter the date where the issue was reported and provide a description of the problem. You can assign a priority level to the task and also categorize it if desired. If applicable, assign a contractor to handle the repair. You can also enter both the estimated and actual costs for the repair and use the drop down menu to update the payment status. Once the repair is completed, you can note the completion date. Finally, there's a space to add any additional notes or details related to this task. This tab provides all the information you need to manage your maintenance efficiently. A small reminder, this tab is also not protected so that you can filter all the information, so be very careful when you enter your data. So that's it. I hope this tutorial helps you easily set up your spreadsheet. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions or concerns. Follow Priori Digital Studio on YouTube for sneak peeks on our new templates.